In Good Shape, your health magazine on DW, featuring an interview with a different expert every week.
Stress in the city. It's a big topic. And with me in the studio today is Dr. Mazda Adli. He lives in a big city. He lives in Berlin. And he's also carrying out research on this topic. Welcome to In Good Shape. Hi. So you're doing research on stress in the city. Why is that important?
Well, the global population living in cities is growing dramatically. Today, every 50% of mankind is living in urban environments. By 2050, about two-thirds of mankind will be living in cities. So urbanization is the global change that is occurring on this planet with a lot of health impact, and we're trying to understand what urbanization does to our psychological well-being.
So it's a major health risk. And what is it that makes life in the city so stressful?
Well, we do see stress-related diseases in cities, such as depression, which occurs more frequently in cities, such as schizophrenia, twice as frequent in cities than in rural environments. It even comes with a dose-response relationship. The greater the city you're growing up in, the larger your risk for suffering from schizophrenia later as an adult. And this probably has a stress-related mechanism, and the root of all that is social stress.
Okay, social stress meaning there are too many people in such a crowded place.
Well, social stress is the combination of social density on the one hand and social isolation on the other hand. When these two stressors combine, the mixture can become toxic.
So why is that? I mean, am I lonely when I live in a big city?
Not necessarily. Most of us, actually most people rather benefit from living in large cities. They benefit from what is called the urban advantage. But they're at-risk populations like older people, like migrants, for example, who don't have the coping instruments to deal with isolation or deal with density, who can't escape the density of cities, and then this becomes health relevant.
So say if you take a look at the brain of some people living in a big city and at the brain of people living in rural areas, do you actually see difference in the brain structure or how it works?
Well, there was a very nice study here from Germany, from Mannheim, which showed that the activity in some regions of the brain where emotions are processed is different in city dwellers than in people from rural areas. City dwellers show a larger activity, stronger activity in the amygdala, which is a very important brain region which controls our emotions.
And what if I would take some inhabitant of a city and say, go get a farm, buy some piece of land and get out into a rural area? Would the brain change after the changing of the location?
Well, it's probably the first 15 years of our lives that count. Every single year that you spend growing up in a city during those first 15 years increases your risk for schizophrenia later on. So this is probably the vulnerable period.
You said that people living in cities shouldn't sit at home behind the closed door. They should go out and live the city. What do you mean by that?
Well, it's always helpful to spend as much time in front of your door than behind your own doorstep, to increase your social connections with your peers, with your neighbors, and that protects from social isolation.
And social isolation is a big major health risk. So if you just would...
Well, social isolation is one of the important social stresses, which is as harmful for our health as smoking or even obesity, and as is social density. And spending much time in front of your doors than behind it protects.
But when I think of myself going through Berlin and I can see the tube going there, planes rushing over my head, and it's also stressful, lots of people, I'm feeling stressed after this. But you say I have to go and to feel it. Why does this help?
Well, it's because it helps to not avoid what stresses you out, but to face it and to expose yourself and to concentrate on different details. For example, a walk through your city or through your neighborhood even, where you focus on the details, on the trees, on the streets, on the benches that you see, is helpful to make the environment more familiar to you.
It's like the awareness you have when you go through a forest. You just go through the city and have some meditation there, like this. So you founded a group, an interdisciplinary group with architects, neuroscientists, all working together to find some solution to the problem of the stressful city. What things are you looking at?
Yeah. So at the beginning of this year, we founded the Forum Urbanism, which is a group of architects, of city planners and neuroscientists together with the Alfred Herrhausen Society. And we try to put our methodologies together to learn from each other and in order to better understand how a perfect city, which is good for our health, should be shaped.
And as a result, you're designing something like a stress map for the city. What's that about?
Well, a stress map is something we're targeting at because we think in order to understand what is stressful about the city and what city stress is exactly composed from, it can be helpful to map it, to ask, for example, a lot of people, inhabitants of a city, to rate their well-being or their anxiety or their stress level on an app. And as a result, we have something like an emotional map which helps us to understand where are the stressful points and sources of city living.
Okay. Dr. Adli, thanks so much for being with us in good shape today. Thanks.